The small paper ad was easy to miss. House sitter needed, old house, quiet place, good pay. I almost laughed at good pay because these jobs usually paid little, but old house, quiet place got my attention. My apartment was tiny. Living in a big old house, even for a short time, sounded nice. I called the number. I thought I'd get an answering machine, but a smooth, strange voice answered fast. It wasn't a man's voice or a woman's voice. It was just flat. It told me how to get there, to a house far from town, near the woods. It said to come Friday when the sun went down. No interview, no questions about me, just, yes, you're hired. It felt strange, but the thought of good money and a big house pushed away the bad feeling. Friday came. A thick fog rolled in, covering the road as I drove away from the town lights. The house appeared out of the fog. It was a giant old Victorian house, dark towers reaching into the evening sky. It looked grand, even though it was old and a bit broken. Its windows looked like empty eyes. The old, fancy wood on the house seemed to twist in the dim light. A rusty metal gate with dead vines groaned open as I drove closer. It was like the gate didn't want me to enter. The front door was big and had faces carved into it. It was unlocked. Inside, a cold air hit me, even though it was a warm day outside. Dust floated in the thin lines of moonlight coming through the tall windows. The air smelled of old wood, old dreams, and something else. Something like metal and a little sweet, like very old blood. "Hello?" I called out. My voice sounded small and quickly disappeared in the huge hall. It echoed back like a laugh. No one answered. A note was on a dark wooden table, carved with hands reaching out. The writing was neat and flat, just like the voice on the phone. It said, "Welcome. Feel at home. Everything you need is here. Do not go into the basement. Do not use the house phone to call out. We will call you." No names, no idea where they were, just rules. My bad feeling grew stronger, but the house was so grand, it made me forget my worries for a bit. The entrance hall was bigger than my whole apartment. A big staircase went up into the dark shadows. Dark paintings, faces of serious men and women, hung on the walls. Their eyes seemed to follow me as I walked past. I told myself it was just a trick of the light, something old paintings do. I spent the first few hours looking around. My steps made loud sounds on the shiny wooden floors. The living room was full of old velvet chairs and more paintings. The dining room had a table big enough for many people, with old, dark silver shining softly. The kitchen was new inside, but its pantry was very big and empty. In the library, I first really felt it. A very cold spot. The air suddenly dropped in temperature, making the tiny hairs on my arms stand up. The shelves were full of old books with faded titles. As I touched the book spines, I heard a soft whisper, like dry leaves moving on stone. I turned fast, but no one was there. Just the dark shadows and the heavy quiet of the house. Night came completely. It made the house look black and blue dark. I found a bedroom on the second floor. It was a grand room with a big bed covered in thick velvet. The windows looked out over the big wild garden, now lost in the thick fog. I tried to push away the growing fear. I told myself it was just because the house was new, because I was alone. But then I saw it. In the tall mirror across the room, as I was taking off my clothes, my reflection seemed to stay for a tiny moment after I moved. Just a quick flash, a small delay. I blinked. I thought I was just tired. But when I looked again, my reflection was still. It wasn't doing what I was doing. It was smiling. A slow, scary smile that stretched its lips too wide, showing teeth that looked too sharp, too many. My blood turned to ice. I stepped back, hitting a small table. When I dared to look again, my reflection was normal, looking back at me with wide, scared eyes. Sleep didn't come easily. Every creak of the old house, every sound of the wind outside seemed louder, scarier. I kept my eyes on the bedroom door, half thinking something might appear in the dark. Around 2 a.m., I heard them. Footsteps. Clear, heavy steps coming from the floor above me. Thump, thump, thump. Slow, clear sounds, like someone dragging their feet across the attic floor. I sat up fast, my heart beating hard. I was alone in the house. The note said my employers were gone. "Hello?" I whispered, my voice barely there. The footsteps stopped. A loud quiet followed. It was so quiet it felt like it pushed on my ears. Then a low, rough growl shook the floor above my head. I pulled the blankets up to my chin, shaking, and stayed awake until the sun came up, making the sky a sick gray color. The next day, I had tried to tell myself everything was fine. The reflection, a trick of light, or maybe I was just more tired. The footsteps, the house settling, old pipes, branches hitting the roof. But the growl? I couldn't explain that away. I decided to look at the basement door. The note said not to go there, and that just made me more curious. The door was in the back of the kitchen. It was a heavy, plain wooden door, held shut with a thick, rusty lock. As I got closer, a soft scratching sound came from behind it. Scritch, scritch, scritch. It sounded like fingernails on wood, constant and strong. I put my ear to the door, holding my breath. The scratching got louder. Then a low, sad moan came from behind the door. It seemed to shake the whole house. I stepped back slowly. Whatever was down there, it sounded alive and stuck or waiting. Days passed, turning into a week. Each day brought new, scary things. The paintings in the hall. I truly believed they watched me. I'd walk by, look at a painting, and the eyes would be on me. I'd look away, then back, and the eyes would have moved, always following me. It became a strange game, testing my mind. I tried to catch them moving, but they were always too quick, too subtle. The house phone, an old, heavy phone in the study, was supposed to be off, but it rang. Always in the middle of the night, usually around 3 a.m. The first time, I jumped high. I stared at it. The loud, sharp ringing broke the quiet. After 10 rings, I carefully picked it up. "Hello?" I whispered. Only static. Then many whispers, 1,000 voices talking at once. I couldn't understand them, but they were there, right in my ear. It sounded like a crowd, but each voice was too close. It was like a buzzing of secrets, a hive of pain. I put the phone down fast, my hand shaking. It rang again 2 nights later, and then again. Each time the whispers got louder, clearer, but never made sense. Sometimes I thought I heard my name in the noise, stretched out and slow, like a scream played slowly. I started leaving the phone off the hook, but then the quiet felt even worse, like something bad was about to happen. I was slowly losing my mind. Sleep was something I rarely got. I ate little food. A constant knot of fear filled my stomach. I stopped looking in mirrors, walking past them quickly, afraid of what I might see. The footsteps upstairs happened every night now. Sometimes I heard soft giggling with them, like a child playing a mean game. I started looking up the house online. It was hard to find information. The address was real, but details about its past were scarce, almost hidden. After many hours of searching, I found an old local history website, a hidden topic called The Blackwood Manor Mystery. Blackwood Manor. That was its name. My blood ran cold as I read. The house had a long, terrible history. Built in the late 1800s, many rich families had lived there. Every single one of them had a bad end. The Blackwoods, the first owners, just disappeared in 1898. They left a perfectly set dinner table and no answers. The next family, the Abernathys, went crazy within a year. They were all put in a mental hospital after saying the house was eating their memories and telling them they would die. Then came the Sinclairs. They were found dead in their beds, their faces frozen in pure fear. Doctors couldn't find a reason for their deaths. The article ended with a scary detail. The house was empty for many years at a time. No one dared to live there, yet somehow it always found new people, new victims. The house was not just haunted, it was alive. It ate. This idea hit me hard. This wasn't just a place with a dark past, it was a living thing, a hunter disguised as a grand old home. The paintings weren't just watching me. They were the house's eyes, looking, learning. The whispers on the phone, its voice, trying to talk, to get into my mind. The footsteps upstairs, the strange reflections, it was all part of its game. A slow, careful breaking of my sanity, getting me ready for... what? The basement, the locked door, the scratching. A cold feeling, deeper than any I had felt, went through my bones. What was down there? Not a ghost, not a trapped spirit. Maybe the pieces of its past victims, or its very heart, where it fed. I had to get out. I ran to the front door, pulling the heavy metal handle. It was locked. Not just locked, but stuck, like it was part of the door frame. I pushed my body against it, but it wouldn't move. I tried the windows. They were all shut tight, painted closed with old dirt and some strange power. The house had me. Panic, cold and sharp, caught in my throat. I ran from room to room, desperate. I felt its presence pushing in on me from every shadow, every creak. The air became heavy, thick with the smell of dust and blood. I heard its whispers everywhere now, not just on the phone. They were carried on the air of the house, like 1,000 tiny voices breathing on my neck. "You won't leave," the whispers hissed, a joined evil chorus. "You are ours." I fell into the study, holding my head, trying to stop the growing flood of voices. My eyes fell on the note, still on the dark wooden table. "Welcome. Feel at home. Everything you need is here. Do not go into the basement. Do not use the house phone to call out. We will call you. We will call you." Then I understood. The strange voice on the phone when I first called. The quick, "Yes, you're hired." No names, no family, just an address and rules. There was no family. Never was. The house itself had called me. It had put out the ad, sounding like a human, bringing me here. Every scary detail, every terrifying event wasn't just happening in the house, it was the house planning my fall into madness. It had watched me through the paintings, learned my fears through the mirrors, talked to me through the phone. It was learning about me, knowing my mind very well, finding the weak spots to use. The whispers got louder, clearer, sharper. "We've been waiting for you, so long, so hungry." I looked at the paintings again, the eyes not blinking, not moving, but shining with an old hunger. They weren't just watching, they were eating. And in the shiny surface of the table, I saw my reflection. My face was pale,
tired, my eyes wide with fear, and behind me, reflected in the ghostly shine of the wood, the fancy carvings on the back of the front door seemed to move, the strange faces stretching into a silent monster's laugh. The house was not just alive, it was thinking, and I was its next meal. I heard the footsteps again, right above me, but this time they weren't random. They were moving with a reason, circling, getting closer. The house was no longer playing. It was coming for me. My breath caught in my throat as the air got very cold. The metallic, sweet smell of old blood filled my nose, stronger than anything else. The whispers reached a very loud peak, a song of pain and waiting. And then, the light in the study flickered. Once, twice, and died. I was in complete darkness. But in that last heavy darkness, I saw it. 2 tiny red lights, glowing with evil smarts in the deepest shadow of the far corner. The house was not just watching me anymore. It was here, with me, and it was smiling.